Iain from R.T.O here. I hope you're all well on this Thursday morning. Well, it's Thursday whenever you watch it. Busy day for me, of course. 2 videos to do, a live stream. So, today's then and now. Today we are looking at Pink Floyd. Gotta get this one in because we've only got, let's have a look at the calendar, we've only got 2 more then and nows before we get that new show, the Battle of the Debutantes. So I thought I'd get one of my favourite bands in before we end. Pink Floyd. They were founded in 1964 by Syd Barrett, Nick Mason, Roger Waters, Richard Wright, and then a guitarist called Bob Close. But Close quit in 1965 and continued touring, and they released some singles, and then we got The Piper at the Gates of Dawn in 1967. Released on EMI Columbia. The album name gets its name from the chapter 7 of Kenneth Grahame's 1908 novel The Wind in the Willows, of course. This album featured Syd Barrett on electric guitar, acoustic guitar, percussion, Roger Waters on the bass, slide whistle, Richard Wright on all things keyboards, Nick Mason on the drums, Norman Smith was the production, and vocal instrumental arrangements and drum roll on Interstellar Overdrive. So the first track on here, of course, is Astronomy Dominé. I think I pronounced that right. I get picked up for saying things wrong. I do apologise, I'm only human. What can you say about this track except it's absolutely brilliant. I just love the lyric to this, I love the tune, I love the guitar work from Syd on this. It's just terrific. Second track on this fantastic album is Lucifer Sam. Another stunning track. Love Roger's bass line on this, Syd's guitar, and some great drumming from Nick. Love that track. First 2 tracks are just absolute belters. Then we get Matilda Mother. This is Richard Wright absolutely killing it on the keyboards. He was on a different planet. He still was. I mean, he's sadly missed. He was a great keyboard player. Absolutely brilliant track. Flaming. This has got some weird lyrics in it from Syd, but again, he was on if Richard Wright's keyboard is on a different planet, he's in a different universe. He's such a clever man. I love that track. Then we get Pow R, Toc H. Get as weird as you like for psychedelic rock on this. I think it's madness, but enjoyable madness. These are the granddaddies of psychedelic rock. They always will be. They really enhance what we know what psychedelic rock was. Really good track. Take up thy stethoscope and walk. What a great name for a track. Drumming on here is brilliant from Nick Mason. Very 60s. Of course, it's just very freaky and a really good track. Okay, then we get my favourite track, and one of my favourite tracks by Pink Floyd, period. Interstellar Overdrive. I love all the guitar work on this. The keyboards are great. The drumming is absolutely phenomenal. And it's them opening riffs of this are brilliant. The Roger's bass and Syd's guitar. Absolutely stunning track. 9 minutes and 41 of absolute madness and brilliance. The Gnome one of Sid's little silly songs. I love it. It's just such a catchy pastiche song, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Chapter 24. This took psychedelic rock to another level. I love the keyboards and the bass line in here. Richard and Roger on top form, even at this early age. The Scarecrow, probably one of the weakest tracks on here, but it's not too bad. And then we end up with that silly little song, Bike. It may be silly, but I love it. I've got a bike and a basket and a only Sid could write amazing silly lyrics like that. It's a classic to me, Bike. One of the highlights of the album for me. Okay, I think this is one of the most important albums of the 60s. It's psychedelic rock. They sort of engrave what everyone else would do, and you know, everybody sort of looks up to this. You know, they say that it was everyone, big bands were always influenced by this album, and I love playing this album, and I still love playing it today. I mean, when I decided to do this show, I thought, yeah, I've got to put it on, and I put it on nice and loud, and it was just blew me away. So what did everyone think of it? Well, at the time of the release, Record Mirror and ME gave the album 4 stars, and Record Mirror commented, "The psychedelic image of the group really comes to life, record-wise, on this LP, which is a fine showcase for both their talent and recording technique. Plenty of mind-blowing sound, both blatant and subdued here. The whole thing is extremely well." Paul McCartney and Pink Floyd's previous producer Joe Boyd both rated this album highly. Some of the voice opinion of the underground fans suggested they didn't reflect their live performances. Can't please everyone, can you? In recent years, though, this album has been gained more recognition. The album was hailed not only a psychedelic masterpiece, but LSD named it a direct influence in 1999. Rolling Stone magazine, my favourite magazine, gave the album 4 out of 5 and calling it the golden achievement of Syd Barrett. Well, what can you say? So, all the other magazines that sort of reviewed it, All About Con gave it 4 3/4 stars, All Music 5, the Daily Telegraph 4, the Encyclopedia of Popular Music 4, Music Hound 3.5 out of 5, NME 9 out of 10, Paste 9.5 out of 10, Pitchfork 9.4, Q 5, and Rolling Stone 5. Wow! What do the fans think? UK got to number 6 in the charts, only made 131 in the US. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts on it. Song quality, it's just brilliant. Even, you know, the instrumentals are fantastic. 5 out of 5 every day of the week for me. Production, amazing production. When you listen to it now, it doesn't date. I mean, the remastered version of this is superb. But when you play both, you just, there's not much to pick for it. All the remaster is it cleans it up a bit and makes it even better. So 5 out of 5. Reception, everyone loves it. There's not a Pink Floyd fan out there that will say, ooh, that was a bit of a dodgy album. So reception 5. So okay, it's a bit biased, but I don't care because it's my video. I'm giving it full marks today, 15 out of 15. It's just one of those albums that you never get tired of. Okay then, let's get into the time machine, and we're going to go 47 years to 2014, and the 15th and final album to be released under the name of Pink Floyd, although they've just released that little single to help with Ukraine. But this is The Endless River. It was the third of the Pink Floyd under the leadership of Mr. Gilmour, and it's the first album after the death of poor old Richard Wright, who appears here posthumously on the album. This album, of course, comprises of instrumental and ambient music based on material recorded in the Division Bell, and David added some more stuff between 2013 and 14. So on here we've got David Gilmour, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, additional musicians on here. We've got the ever present Guy Pratt, doesn't just do Pink Floyd, he's gone off and done Sourceful. Nick Mason, Sourceful of Secrets, of course. Bob Ezrin's on here, Andy Jackson. The voice sample is Mr. Stephen Hawking, and the producer is Youth, who we talked about with the Fireman the other day. So the first track on here is called Things Left Unsaid. Two things I like about this. One, Richard Wright's keyboard is wonderful, and of course David Gilmour's guitar solo on this. It's so relaxing, it's so chilled you can I could lay back and just listen to this. I love that piece of music. Number 2 on the album is called It's What We Do. I can listen to this all day. Great bass playing from Guy Pratt. David Gilmour's guitar work is just fab on that. Then we get a little short piece called Ebb and Flow, which is some nice acoustic music from Mr. Gilmour. So next track is called Some. This keyboard stuff from Richard on here, it really goes back to his early days. It's very psychedelic. Psychedelic rock brought up to date, and it is just fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favourite pieces on this album. Then we get Skins. Drumming from Nick Mason on this is very short. It really sounds good. Very underrated drummer, I think. Everyone's always, we talk about the great proggy drummers. Nick Mason doesn't get much of a mention. He should do, because he was the beat of this band. Then we get Unsung. Some lovely textures on the guitars here from Mr. Gilmour, and you've got Richard on the piano, and I love listening to Richard's piano playing. I get Anisina. Classic piano playing from Richard on this. It's just wonderful. So missed is Richard Wright. Very accomplished musician. I mean, if you've listened to some of his solo stuff, it's fantastic. We will be looking at that at some stage, I'm sure. The Lost Art of Conversation. Very short piece of music, but again, it's just Richard Wright coming up with a piano idea, I think, and he just sits there, twinkles on the ivories. Nightlight. Again, this is just Gilmour and Wright doing some, just jamming a bit. It's 1 minute 42, really good. Then we get Allons-y 1. This has got that sort of chunky riff that you got on Run Like Hell on the Wall. That really, really good. Nice little uplifting piece of music. Autumn 68. I love the church organ on this. It is just terrific. Then we get Allianz 2. More classic guitar work here. I think these tracks, Allons-y, Autumn 68 and Y2, should be just one solid track put together. They all flow lovely. It's a fantastic piece of music. Then we get my favourite on the album. It's called Talking Hawking. You know who does the, besides like the vocal on here, it's Stephen Hawking talking. Then you got some great bass playing from Guy Pratt, and then the rest of the band are just fantastic as well. It's a fantastic track, my favourite on the album. Then we get Calling. This is very dramatic. It's got lots of keyboard swells from Richard Wright, which is just superb. Then we get Eyes to Pearls. Love the drumming on this. This is quite echoey. It's a fantastic piece of music. It's just short, but it's just fantastic. Surfacing, one of my favourite guitar solos from David Gilmour. Absolutely marvellous piece of work. Then we get the only proper song on here that's got words, written by Dave Gilmour and Polly Samson. It's a nice song. Now, I love this album. I know there's a lot of Pink Floyd fans out there that don't like it. But as I'm a big fan of Richard Wright's keyboard work, I'm happy for this to be out, because this should not have been left on the shelf, and David Gilmour was right to put this out and leave us with some great stuff. No, I love it. I really do, and I play this a lot. It's a great instrumental album. So what did everyone else think of it? On the review, a Gradicator site of Metriatric, it scored 58 based on 24 reviews, which give it an indicated mixed or average reviews. Ludwig Hunter Tinley of the Financial Times praised the nostalgic Floydian sound and reminiscence of Pink Floyd's work prior to The Wall, and wrote, "How fitting that the band, so accustomed to loss should close their account with an engrossing elegy to their own past." Cameron Cooper of Music gave the album 3.5 out of 5, writing, "It felt less like a swan song and more like a final homage." Lovely thought. That is absolutely spot on. It was a homage to Richard Wright. The lack of vocals gives it more freedom of music, which allows it to speak for itself. Rolling Stone's Dave Frickle wrote, "Wright was a steady embodied majesty in the Floyd's explorations. This album is an unexpected welcome epitaph." So there you go. AllMusic gave it 3, The Guardian 3, The Independent 3, Record Collector 5, NME 5 out of 10. The Observer gave it 4 stars. And the fans in the UK took to it, got to number 9 in the album charts. The Americans on the Billboard was 115, but it managed 24 on the US rock album. So the nuts and bolts of this. Song quality, you can't mock it at all. It's wonderful. 5 out of 5 again. Production, wonderful production, well put together. You know, Youth is a very good producer. Okay, his personal stuff is quite wacky, but as a producer you can't knock him. So 5. Reception, it was mixed. If it had got all 5 stars, we could have said give it 5. But because it was a bit mixed and some people didn't think that much, you know, sort of with it, I'm going to have to give it a 4. So a total of 14 out of 15. So the Pipers at the Toc H, the first album, got a total blur this morning, pips it by 1, but there's not much between these 2 albums at all. Both great for different reasons. The debut album great because it was a great psychedelic album. and The Endless River because it's paying homage to Richard Wright. Okay, let's have a quick look at the discography of Pink Floyd. So after, I've got to get this right because I'm what an idiot I am at times. So after The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, 1968, we got Sourcefuls of Secrets, which is the first album that Mr. Gilmour played on. So you've got, this was Sid's last, so you got bits and bobs of Sid as well, but poor old Sid was totally out of it. So there's a lot of good work here from David. First track is Let There Be Light, one of them great little tracks, love that one. Then we get a Remember a Day, and then we get the daunting Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, one of the most eeriest tracks by Pink Floyd. Great vocal from Roger on that, I love that song. Corporal Clegg is one of them silly little tracks. Pretty cool. Sourcefuls of Secrets itself, it's okay, I think, this one, but it gets weird in it. But I love the end of this. The church organ bit is fantastic. Seesaw and Jug Band Blues end the album. 1969 was the next one, and it's more, and it was the soundtrack to the film. We got Cirrus Minor, pretty cool. And then we get the Nile Song. Now I think this is probably the heaviest song that Pink Floyd ever did. It's got some great guitar riffs in that. Then we get Crying Song, Up the Khyber, Green is the Colour, one of them little classic acoustic Pink Floyd tracks, which are pretty good. And Cymbeline, Party Sequence, some little things. Main theme, it's alright. Then we got Ibiza Bar, I love this, another heavy track. More blues, Quicksilver, a Spanish piece which is just Dave Gilmour on the Spanish guitar and dramatic theme. 1969 then, and we get this double album, Ummagumma, part live, part studio. The live album's pretty cool. You get it's got the best version of Astronomy Dominé on it, best version of that. And Careful with That Axe, Eugene. I'm not very keen on that one, but a really good version of Set of Controls. And A Sourceful of Secrets is brilliant on this. It's much better than the studio version, I think. Then we go into the studio stuff, and the first part is Cyphus, split into 4 parts. It's okay, but I have to be in the mood to listen to that all the way through. I just find it a little bit too way out, and it's not very coherent. Grantchester Meadows, I love this. It's a beautiful piece of music. And then the worst title that I could ever think of, and it's probably the worst piece of music I hate this. It's not even music. Several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave grooving with a pick. What's all that about? Weird. I don't like it. Simple as. The Narrow Way, split to 3 parts again, 12-minute song, like that, pretty nice. Then the Grand Visor's Garden, love the first part of this, absolutely brilliant. Then in 1970, oh, it's that cover again. You know I hate that cover. Atom Heart Mother, opens up with that classic, unbelievable piece of music. One of my favourite pieces by Pink Floyd. It's got the Father's Shout, Breast Milky, Mother 4, Funky Dung, Mind Your Throats, and Re-Emergence. Just love the brass in it, just love how it flows. It's a great piece of music. And then on the other side, we have the wonderful If. Roger Waters still does this live, and it's really good. Summer 68, again, it's Richard on the piano, and it is wonderful. Fat Old Son, another classic from David Gilmour, who has played it on his solo stuff. And then we get this Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast. Yeah, you can keep that. I don't need to listen to that. When I get the Fat Old Son, that's it. Turn it off. Okay, 1971 then. Brilliant album come out. Got one of my favourite tracks of all time by Pink Floyd on here. Meddle, of course. Opens up with One of These Days I'm going to cut you into little pieces. Great track. Love the steel guitar on that from Dave Gilmour. Brilliant. Pinder Willows. Pillow of Wind, sorry. It's okay. Fearless. Love that track. Then you get Saint-Tropez, a little bit of nonsense. Now Seamus, the dog. Because Tory about this. When I put this album on, when the dog barks, it sets our Rocky off. He's quite funny. He'll go and stand next to my Bose iPod thing and start shouting at it and barking at it. It's quite funny to see. And then we get, of course, the brilliant Echoes. It's just a masterpiece. Love the vocals in the harmonies with Richard Wright and Dave Gilmour, and Mr. Waters. They sound wonderful on that. And I think the best version I've got of that is one of the live versions on the one of David Gilmour's live albums. It's an amazing piece of music. What can you say? 1972 then. We got Obscured by Clouds. Obscured by Clouds is the first track. Love the solo in that. Then we get When You're In. Burning Bridges. I think this is very Procol Harum. God, it's in one of these heavy tracks from Pink Floyd. I like that one. What's the Deal? It's alright. Mudman. Love that. Short little piece, but really good. Then we get Childhood End. I just like how this flows. 3-4. Love this track. My favourite track on the album. I just love how the dum 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 and Roger's vocal. Stay. Absolute Curtains. Both pretty cool tracks. Then in 1973 we get the belter. The Dark Side of the Moon. Speak to Me, Breathe. What can you say? On the Run, the Hoopy track. Time is a classic. The Beautiful Great Gig in the Sky. God, I remember listening to this probably in the summer of 81, 82. We used to listen to this all the time. Used to take it over the fields and put it on the Ghetto Blaster. That's how good it was. Then we get the classic Money. That great bass line. Boom, 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 boom. And the sax solo in that is terrific. Then we get the lovely Us and Them. The Mesmerise, Any Colour You Like. And Brain Damage and Eclipse. Still the classics. 1975. Wish You Were Here album. Another belter. Shine On Your Crazy Diamond is just amazing. Welcome to the Machine, I love that. Have a Cigar, featuring Mr. Roy Harper, You're Gonna Go Far. By the way, which one's Pink? Wish You Were Here. Now, people are going to be shocked. I like it, but it's not one of my favourites. And then we get the second part of Shine On Crazy Diamond, which everyone forgets about, but it's got an amazing sax playing on that. 1977 then, The Wonderful Animals. Pigs on the Wing. Dogs. Just love dogs. Bassline's great. Again, when the dogs start barking, his nibs there starts barking. He's quite funny. Then we get Pigs, 3 different ones. Another belter. Great guitar solo from Mr. Gilmour. Sheep, one of my favourite songs on the album. I love The Lord Is My Shepherd and all that sort of thing. And then that guitar at the end is brilliant. The album ends up with Pigs on a Wing 2. Part 2. 1979. The Wall. We've covered this in a classic album. Of course, we've got In the Flesh, The Thin Ice, Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, Happiest Days of Our Lives, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, the single, Mother, which I love. Love Goodbye Blue Sky. Empty Spaces is brilliant as well. Young Lust, One of My Turns is fantastic. Don't Leave Me Now, Another Brick in the Wall Part 3, Goodbye Cruel World. Hey You, fantastic track. Is there anybody out there? Nobody Home, love that. Vera, Bring the Boys Back Home. The wonderful Comfortably Numb, one of Dave Gilmour's best guitar solos. The Show Must Go On. In the Flesh, the naughty version but it's part of a thing and people have got to accept that. Run Like Hell's brilliant. Waiting for the Worm. Stop, The Trial, which I love, and Outside the Wall. Then we come to the controversial 1983 album, The Final Cut, where Richard Wright had been sacked during the war. So on here we got Dave Gilmour, Nick Mason, Roger Waters, and additional musicians. We got Michael Kamen on piano, Andy Bound from Status Quo on Hammond and electric piano, Roy Cooper percussion, and Andy Newman. This is more of a Roger Waters solo album than Pink Floyd. Not particularly one of my favourite albums by Pink Floyd. Post-War Dream, I like that, it's pretty good. Your Possible Past is okay, one of the few. Then we get, if you've got the album version hasn't got this on, but the CD has. It's When the Tigers Broke Free. I actually got the gatefold single of that, and I like that song. Heroes Return, it's alright. Gunner's Dream, it's a bit depressing. Paranoid Eyes. Then we get that little Get Your Filthy Hands Off My Desert, which I think is quite comical. I like the Fletcher Memorial Home, it's pretty good. The Final Cut, bit dull. Not Now John, it's the best song on the album. Two Sunsets, and then it all went funny, didn't it? Everyone fell out, and then there was the name and court cases. But 1987, Dave Gilmour come back with Nick Mason and Richard Wright for a momentary lapse of reason. Now, the production on the original album was very 80s, and it sort of, I wasn't very keen on this album when it came out, but when they remastered it and took away the drum machine and put Nick Mason playing drums, it's a better album, and I've got more love for this now. So Signs of Life, that little opening, Learning to Fly is a good track. Love Dogs of War, love the sax on that. One Slip on the Turning Away, yet another movie you can keep. Round and Around, New Machine's alright, Eternal Frost is alright, but Sorrow is brilliant. I love that guitar work at the beginning and the end. But they do sound a lot better. Even the tracks I'm not keen on sound a lot better now they've been remastered, remixed, and Nick's done the drumming on it. 1994 then, The Division Bell. Dave Gilmour, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, Guy Pratt's on here, Gary Wallace, who's touring, does the percussion. We've got Tim Rennick doing some extra guitar work, Dick Parry on the tenor sax, and a guest vocal from Mr. Stephen Hawking. Cluster 1, which is an instrumental. I love the guitar work on this, and the interplay between Richard and David is pretty cool. What You'd Want to Do, What Do You Want From Me is pretty good. Poles Apart, okay. Marooned, definitely a classic, and it's got a great solo on it. A Great Day for Freedom's pretty good, love the vocal on that. Wearing the Inside Out, pretty cool track. Take It Back, solid track, I love the arrangement on that. Coming Back to Life, this is quite catchy, I like that. It's a bit cheesy I suppose, but I like it. Keep Talking, love Stephen Hawking on that, really adds to that track. Lost for Words is a pretty cool track, and then it's got one of my favourite tracks by Pink Floyd to end the album, High Hopes. I love this, absolutely brilliant. Well, there we go, that's a quick resume of Pink Floyd. But if you would like, of course, me to do a full album ranking of Pink Floyd, just put it in the comments below, and it will appear in the schedule at some stage. Okay, that's all for this edition of Then and Now, but I'll be back later for probably one of my favourite videos we do. That's the album stinker covers or titles. This one has been put together by myself and Mastermind Dave, and if you don't know who Mastermind Dave is, he's one of my friends. He's also the back room of R.T.O, and on the live stream he doesn't live in England, he lives in Northern Ireland, and he sits on the live stream making sure we don't get any naughty people coming in and being abusive. And also he is the guru. People ask him stuff and within 10 seconds it's there. So me and him, we do love doing this album stinkers, so you'll see what we come up for you this time on the next show. So until then, bye for now.